would you like to put on your sideline reporter hat for
Sure.
one more question?
Sure.
Because guys, now
Oh, look at him with the shirt. Look at.
Some people go to sleep after championships. Some people don't have enough time to sleep. It's overrated. Anyway, what a night.
Darin van Tassell with the hot tag joining quickly. I mean, Marion. All right, so Marion, put on your sideline reporter hat one more time. If you had a question for Darin van Tassell the morning after, what is it?
Oh,
all
wow.
ears, Marion. All ears. And by the way, she crushed it last night, John.
Oh, I know she did.
It was a big event.
Absolutely.
So, Darin, can I have at my producer? Can I have one question or two?
Yeah, go for it. It's all you.
Yeah. Okay, Darin. So earlier, but before you hopped on, we were just talking about the tremendous growth that USL League One has seen, and we were saying that Tormenta is representative so much about what USL wants to do. From the fact you have an academy program, you have a 2 program, you have a women's league. You are literally the first team ever with a double championship. And in 2019, would we have ever thought that was going to be a possibility for clubs to even have that kind of honor, to have a women's champion and a men's champion? You have done it. And as the 3 seed, nonetheless, like what is going through your mind right now?
Well, it takes a village, and we can just hit ... after that. In our league, I don't think there's much difference between a 3 seed, 1 seed, and an 8th seed. And but someone has to end up with those numbers in the playoffs. What a moment. Thanks for mentioning the double. I'm not certain, as much as Tormenta wants to make that happen again, that's going to be such a rarity in the history of our sport in this country for 2 championships to happen at the same time. Quite frankly, I thought the story last night, other than Pablo Jara's Hollywood moment,
we talked about
was the fans, was the crowd. Forget how many the numbers were. That place was hopping. It was
over 3,065, I think, was the announced number.
And it was such an intimate group. It was loud. We get you close, and I think stadiums our size, you can do much more of that. Players have not stopped smiling. I left them about 4:30 because we needed to leave and make sure I got them to bed. But there's a lot to do, and it was just joyful. Sports happening, and it brings us joy, and our joy is bigger than us. That's the best part. And honestly, and I really do hope this is a real sign, because yes, Tormenta won a title and we beat the Red Wolves, but they also have that same infrastructure you just mentioned. Yeah. And kudos to them for having it. I hope it was a wonderful night for our league.
Yeah. John, this is my last one. I want to give you a moment, because I feel like your players have just truly not gotten enough love. I think they've gotten a good bit of love on the field. I mean, to be honest, tremendous performance from them last night from a player perspective, but just as people. And, this was one thing I talked to you about after the game. The guys that you have in this group, from head coach to front office to every single player that I got a chance to speak with, such a welcoming energy about them. So I want to give you a second to just give some love to that group of guys who got to lift the trophy last night.
I love that you're bringing up that point. I think that's the silent point we know internally. These are fine folks. You just want to be around them all the day. Nitra probably gets most of the credit as owner for that. You guys let me come on the show and speak, but it's a genuine moment. It happens. The players are that kind to each other, quite frankly. And quite frankly, men don't often get the sort of the joy and the love that they should show when they're kind, whether they're trialists that come in, whether they're new guys that are coming in, whether it's our academy guys showing up, Kazai Sterling is probably our best player with 9 and 8-year-olds, just being kind and nice to them. Pablo was taking penalty shots with kids on the goal last night. I mean, these are just fun moments. Maybe they're unique to our league. I don't know. I don't know how else to do it other than having superb people. But you can't grow a club in our size if you don't have the community to be a part of us. And it's going to take that kind of of genuine folks. Listen, last night you could see it winning something. Listen, that's not a hard time to show joy, is it?
No.
But it's so genuine, it's so real. What you experience is exactly who they are.
At Marion CC _ on the Twitters from the sidelines last night, heading back to the real world. Marion, you understand that you have a golden ticket here at SDH. So whenever you want to crash,
you call me. You have my number. You know where
Wait a second. There's a real world. I need to understand how to get there.
You're in it, brother.
I'm faking it till I make it, Darin. I'll just say that. We'll leave it there.
There's a lot
guys,
of that.
it was seriously a pleasure, Darin. I'm so glad I got to see you again. John, thanks as always. Seriously, call me anytime. You know where to find me.
Marion Crowder, sidelines last night on ESPN2 for the League One title game. And so Marion is checking out. Darin van Tassell is in the office. All right, so let's go back. And when I first saw you, when I wandered into Tormenta Stadium last night, you had the ear-to-ear grin. And you were, I'm trying to figure out the emotions, and I'm sure that there were a lot of them heading into the match last night, because it's like there was that nervous, positive energy heading into the match last night. It's probably the best way that I could describe it.
Well, I think at the moment we were a little bit still taken back by how many people were coming into the stadium. The gates didn't open until 6. That line was about 150 yards out there, and it just never stopped, and it kept coming. By the way, what a great showing for the Red Wolves fans.
No doubt.
Big turnout for them. And John, the players for the Red Wolves, first class after the game. So were their fans. Just absolutely first class. So it's a big shout out to their own organization and all the great things that Sean's doing there and that ownership group. There was a calmness, I think, that we all felt. There's excitement in there when that many people show up and that many TV cameras around, but there was a real calmness in the air, and we were eager to start and get it going. We felt prepared. That never means that's going to lead to an outcome. It was absolutely a 50-50 kind of game. It was a great game to watch. People were watching soccer in League One for the first time. I think they got a real treat. ESPN, I think, did a nice job with the camera work and all the broadcasters. But what a first time to tune in. I can tell you last night, there were a lot of folks in Statesboro, a lot of Statesboro elite that were seeing Tormenta for the first time. So our timing worked out great.
So it's 1-0, and, the first 20, 25 minutes, Marion and I talked about it before you came on. Getting to the quarter pole, the field was tilted, and Tormenta was on the front foot like they were when these two teams met last week of the regular season, except that the chances went in the back of the net last week of the regular season, as opposed to still being goalless. Kaz gets the PK to make it 1-0. Then there's the moment right before the half where everything was honors even heading into the second 45. What were you thinking heading into the break with everything even at 1?
Well, we had been pretty front-footed. I thought we got a tough foul call, to tell you the truth, but what a goal Chattanooga had.
Mm-hmm.
When we get the pin, I think it was really because we should have gotten one about 20 minutes earlier, and the two equated to one together.
Yep.
But the guys came out. I thought we had a good portion of the things, but it really felt like it was headed to overtime.
Yeah.
At that stage, both teams I thought were playing quite well. I know any team that loses thinks they don't have their best game, but we hope that we were a part of teams not having their best game. Subs clearly made a big role. Pablo comes on in goal to take over for TJ, and the crowd starts chanting. Listen, it was deafening at that time. And I know Hollywood scripts write themselves like this when those things happen, but we tend to say, that's Hollywood. But that is exactly what happened last night. Jamil scores after being on the field for 3 minutes, and it just, what a banger.
Yeah.
That he takes. No one was going to, stop that. So, there was a level of excitement that when it runs through any sports person's body that you can't get enough of.
Mm-hmm. So Jamil gets it in. the back of the net, 2-1. Those final 8-9 minutes or so. Did you have any fingernails left, or are you in a position to bite your nails? Did you find fingernail clippers? There you go. Yeah, I was wondering, how much of it were you able to watch?
Oh, I watch.
Okay.
I find my spot. Nitra and I get there. I need to watch the game. Now, there were moments that I missed. The final 5 minutes or so, I was right there on the edge with the rest of the guys that weren't rostered as we were getting ready, and so we could watch it there. Other than some of that being a blur, I'd like to go back and watch some of those details that we might have missed. But listen, down the stretch, I thought we were pretty clinical in keeping them away from something super dangerous. And Pablo falls on the ball a couple of times. The whistle to me, actually, when it happened, I knew what had just happened. I knew it was the end of the game, but I think it took about 2 seconds for the, oh my gosh, that's what just happened.
Yeah.
And then here we go.
Well, and we were talking about it when Marion was on, that you had the full representation of everything that was there that is Tormenta. It was some of the women's team had come down. They had come back to watch the League One team in their title. Yeah. You had academy there. You had all the youth that was there. It was one of those shared moments that I thought was the personification of what you and Nitra and everyone there in Tormenta have built to get to this point where it was that shared experience. It wasn't just the League One title game. Everyone was enjoying the process.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. We were top to bottom on the whole representation. I think the 11 of the women that won a star this summer made sure that they were in attendance. There's a couple of just anecdotal things that are worth knowing. There were some guys that I followed on Twitter a little bit, and they become Tormenta followers and whatnot. They're Argentinian, and quite frankly, I just assumed they were in the U.S., except they boarded planes and flew from Argentina to be at the game last night.
Yep.
A lot of alumni flew in. Guys that are on different teams flew in and made sure that they were here. It was so important to many of us. Lots of text messages after the game, John.
Yes, there were. I have the photo to prove it.
And so, listen, that's the fun stuff that happens when championships occur. That script does play itself out. Yeah. For us, being the first time, it probably feels like it plays itself out a bit differently, but sports do happen, and they happened in the best of ways last night.
Two guys I want to mention, and we already kind of talked about one of them, Phelpsy and Pablo Jara, who have been a part of this process pretty much since as close to day one as humanly possible. And catching up with Pablo, I mean, after the match, we go to Edwin Pintor, director, major domo of communications.
That's right.
And we sit there and it's like, okay, who do you want to talk to? And so obviously we wanted to talk to Keziah Sterling. That was easy. Ian wanders over and puts me in a triangle choke after the interview was over. Then after that, I wanted to catch up with a couple of folks. And one was obviously Jamil. And the other one that I specifically requested was Pablo. Because I wanted his perspective on someone who has been a Tormenta lifer about going from day one to that night. Yeah. And the fact that he got to share that moment with his family who flew up from Chile. You mentioned Argentina and USL Argentina. The fact that his family came up from Chile to see Statesboro, because, conversations and anecdotal stuff can only go so far. Mom, I'm going to go play professional soccer in Statesboro, Georgia.
Yeah.
But for them to finally get to see their son in that Hollywood moment, come in for TJ and finish the match out, for everything that he's invested, for everything Phelpsy's invested, for them to get that moment, I thought was another bow that you could add to that gift.
Hollywood writes those scripts, and we have fun with them. We're like, yeah, but that doesn't really occur. The fans were chanting his name, and his parents got to hear it.
Yeah.
That's really, we won. The score was also great because we get T-shirts that come with winning.
Yes, you do.
Way. But we had won. We won that game before it started in terms of impact.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of growing the sport in our league, the fact that the Hollywood gods permitted us to also finish it up with that kind of moment, made it even better. The moment that really caught me, though, and you probably saw it, you're savvy, was when Pablo loses his starting role to TJ, who's been unbelievable for us down the stretch. We get super hot.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, when Pablo comes out of the lineup, a whole bunch of other players started playing differently because Coach Edie and Cameron said, we're going to try changing goal. They got going also. And that's no small moment.
Mm-hmm.
But Gabriel Cabral's been our captain since that time, and he runs over and puts the captain's armband on him.
Yep.
We know what a moment that is amongst soccer players and just how much that matters.
Mm-hmm.
And the pregame, we talked about how important it would be if we won and if Pablo Jara can lift our trophy. Now, in the pregame, Pablo already knew he wasn't starting tonight.
Yeah.
Although it's quite tenuous every week because it goes about who's having a good week at training.
Okay.
Our fans got to see all that, and we got to experience. And Nature and I are owners, and Jeff Spencer and Elena, his wife. We had a lot of the ownership group in town. They all got to see that. Boy, those mental photos aren't going to go away soon.
No, they shouldn't. So how late a night was it? You said 4:30?
Well, 4:30 is when we kind of broke the party up, but I don't think we went to sleep a lot. I do know that Pablo somehow managed a way to go to sleep because I do have a picture that he posted.
There it is.
He took the trophy home. And he's got the medal and the trophy. And if you ever wonder if this doesn't matter to grown men, it matters to grown men.
Oh, that's fantastic. On Darin van Tassell's phone is a picture of a napping Pablo Jara as he continues to get text messages and sleeping with the USL League One trophy. Is this going to be a Stanley Cup kind of a thing where everybody gets a day with it and gets to do with it whatever they wish?
We're making this stuff up as we go. I love that idea. That's what it has to do. It's got rounds to make.
And I mean, that's some great stuff there. When you look back at all of this, this day, meaning yesterday, as we're talking on Sunday, to get to this point, now that you have to find traditional medicinals throat coat tea, look back to day one, like day one. Look back to day one for me for the birth of Tormenta. And you go from day one to here. Has it sunk in that you and Nitra have gone from co-owner, co-president, general manager, hoarder of the cell phones, wandering into a community room there at the clubhouse to double champion in USL, first time ever in this hemisphere, even in this hemisphere soccer history, where a franchise has won both a women's title and a men's title. From day one, have you had the chance to sit there and think of the context of from day one to yesterday and today that you're wearing a T-shirt for the second time this summer?
I'm rubbing the cold chills out of my body just so I can give you an answer. That's not possible to sink in. It's just not possible for what you just said to sink in for any of us. I'm not naive enough to think that may never happen in North America again.
Mm-hmm. But you're the first.
But we got to do both of our firsts at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It's sensational. How else do we say it? When this happens to teams, communities, states, regions, the impact lasts for a while, and things that you couldn't do previously get to happen now. The fact that this is also happening while our stadiums continues to build and is just an absolute gift.
The red rocks of USL League One soccer.
Yes, well said. Well said. But listen, I do hope. How do we say this that it's not overanalyze it? This was a big moment for where soccer has come in the United States. The fact that it happened Tormenta in Statesboro is wonderful.
Yeah.
But look at the shoulders this thing is come upon. There were people playing in the 70s and 80s pushing our game when very little was happening. It was certainly never on TV.
Yeah.
And now we get to talk about it. And if pro soccer gets to show up in Statesboro, Georgia, and we have a club here that can have that kind of success, it'll happen. Excuse me. That's the bad throat happening there.
That's what
it can happen over and over again. And in League One, we're filled with clubs that it could happen to every year.
All right, you're fading, so I'm going to go one more question. When it comes to all of this, and I mean this in the holistic sense. The one thing that I mentioned to you last night, and I talked to Marion about it this morning, is that every league needs a Green Bay. And what I mean by that is that you've got that one franchise in the market that's not the biggest. That is going to sit there and be successful outside of the purview of the major market. You know, if you sit there and you look at, like I said, you look at the National Football League, it's the Green Bay Packers. You look at the NBA, they're in markets where, I mean, the Milwaukee Bucks, we'll stick with the state of Wisconsin. Yeah. Milwaukee isn't your largest media market in the world, but when you get players like Giannis who can be there to get you to a championship, you're in a top 40 media market, but you're not the largest media market in the National Basketball Association. I think that every league, if it's managed well, has that Green Bay situation where the folks that are in that market understand who they are, they understand what they're building, and they're going to do it their way and be successful. I would posit that Tormenta is positioning itself to be the Green Bay of American soccer, the smallest market that exists. And within months, not a calendar year, but months, you have gone from winning a USLW title, first time ever, to winning the USL League 1 championship. I don't think it's that far of a stretch to sit there and posit that a Green Bay equivalence exists here with what you and everyone are building here with Tormenta.
I'm going to just clip your part and make sure all of our future players, season ticket holders, and sponsors get to hear that.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Let me know.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, you need to focus on drinking hot things and not talking probably for the next 3 days.
Sleep. I sleep probably should occur.
That too. So, Darin, my friend, congratulations for a successful League One season. Everyone in League One for a successful League One season. The fact that you got to, as a part of the growth of this franchise, hoist a trophy and do it with Carter Payne, I think is also just as important with everything that you guys have accomplished this year. Congratulations. Save your voice. I will see you soon, my friend.
Thank you, John. What a night. What a night. Cheers.